Good morning. This is Greg Noyes, Pacific West Home Inspections. I'm up in Tujunga this morning doing a house up in the hills, and it's been recently renovated. And first things we're going to look at is the roof. And I noticed all the wood and stucco has been covered with a product called Tex Coat, and that's something that Sears Roebuck sells, and over the time it starts to peel. And then getting on the roof, it's a composition shingle. It looks like they painted it in areas, I'm not sure exactly why. It has a gutter system on the front and rear of the house. It's a metal one. And let me hop up here. They had the skylights recently repaired, and they still have the putty knife up here. And then going into the back of the house, the whole roof has been painted. That's very odd. Usually we don't paint roofs. And on the left side of the roof, they have a satellite dish, and they bolted it down to the roof, so there's always a potential water leaks in that area as well. And up here you have your main sewer lines, and again the rear skylight was patched, the whole roof was patched. When you're patching like that, typically it's a temporary band-aid. It doesn't last very long, and so you probably want to get that get a re-roof. And then they had a vent here. This is the old water heater vent, or furnace vent, and they got into a heat pump, so there's no longer a need for a vent. But they took a 5-gallon paint can lid and fashioned a cover for it, so when you re-roof you can eliminate the whole hole itself. And so that would be make sure the roofer understands that. And again, we have another spatula for the repairs. So here's the hood for the kitchen, and they have metal flashing that's done correctly. And you can see the original shingle color, and then the paint they sprayed painted. And here's the line coming in from the electrical lines. And when they re-roof, make sure that they reattach the anchor points to the roof. A lot of times roofers will not do that. And your some of your neutral wire is insulation getting bare, and you have tape in the other ones. You might have an electrician just re-tape everything up here to make it more sure nothing's exposed. So I'm going to back around. We're looking at the front of the house. There's a tree off to the side, and but basically right now we're talking about a re-roof for the house. Next thing we'll look at is your water heater. There's a 3-inch transite pipe here. A lot of times you use them for plumbing vents, but you have another vent near it. And I have been able to get into the water heater because they've screwed in the covers for the water heater. And this may be the water heater vent line. So you can see it's missing a hood. And manufacturers no longer like to use this asbestos transite pipe. They want to see a metal pipe. So that once they get the water heater exposed, then I'll tell you if that's the case or not. I'm in either the dining room or the kitchen nook area. And this is where your main panel is. I was able to take the cover off today, but they had painted it to the wall, so there's some areas that need some touch-up. It is a 150 amp service, which is large enough for the house. And there's a couple of things that I found, conditions I found with the panel. You can see that's missing a cover here so the kids can get their hands back in there. And some of these breakers had 2 wires on them. We call it double lugging. And that'll be on the report. And then you had a 15 amp breaker and the wires are oversized, so I'll check the amperage on the AC. I think this is the new wall unit AC. So again, a couple of missing screws. And the next thing we'll look at is the water heater. This cover around the water heater is built like Fort Knox. The 5 or 6 of these long wood screws holding it in place. It's not really needed, but they really went overboard on this. After some work, I was able to remove the panel covers. There's 6, 7 screws holding it. And you have the electric water heater here. And I want to point out a couple of things we found. I found here, one is when you have electric, you're supposed to have a way to disconnect it, another switch. There's no switch down here. And then the couplings here coming in, you see it's rusted here and is leaked at times. There's corrosion on the, so we can get a better shot here. It's corroded, so it's ready to blow again. And then the valve on the cold water side has leaked in the past. There's corrosion now. On here you can see the little goober hanging loose here. That's leaks, past leaks. And then the bottom of, on the floor, there's moisture down here. There's black areas. So I'm not sure if that's mold or what's going on there. So you may want to have this checked out for mold. And then the siphon straps on the tank, the top one's up too high, and then there's a big gap here between the wall and the water heater. So there you go. It's an electric water heater and no label on it, so I can't tell you the size or the age. This house, I was notified that they had a flood and they had a problem with the copper to galvanize, and they have this little short copper line comes off, and there's no it's no diatomaceous dielectric coupling or 6-inch brass nipple to keep the copper from corroding with the galvanize. So they haven't done anything there. The pressure regulator looks newer, and it's all galvanized supply lines here. Now off here there's a 1/4-inch copper line that goes over to under the kitchen, and we'll bring the camera around, and they connect it to a angle stop type valve, and then it goes back up to a galvanized line probably behind the refrigerator. These angle stops should be in a readily accessible area. They tend to leak, and they're supposed to be used to connect the water line to the plumbing fixture, and we don't use them under the homes. So there's some plumbing that needs to happen here. There's a electrical, there's a loose cover on that junction box. Exposed wires here, light fixtures hanging by wires. And I'm going to go over this pipe here. And there's some wiring down here. One of the conduits was had broken, and they used tape to fix it. You're supposed to put a junction box here on this here to connect the 2 conduits back together. The sharp edges of the flexible metal will cut into the wire. So that's what you have. This is the crawl space area on the right side of the house.